All right, ladies and gentlemen, so yesterday what we did is we measured using a random pencil or any sort of other straight piece of equipment that you can find, whatever that happens to be. You can even use a piece of paper, but you are holding that pencil right up to your actual computer screen to the photograph that you had. You are using one side of the pencil to mark where the edge of the bottle was, and then you were using your fingertips to put it at the opposite side. And then you went to your drawing paper and you marked those off. I use that to make my vertical lines. I try to make them parallel as best I could freehand. If yours looks like it's sort of bunching up or it's crooked or it's bumped out, take a little time to kind of fix it and correct that. I then measured the entire length of my bottle. I used my fingertips down at the bottom again, and I brought that over. Just sort of redo that there for a second. I redid that and brought it over here and marked that off as well. So you can see I have my rectangle ready to go. The next thing I want to do is I want to do the other lines that I've provided for you on the picture. The first one I'm going to focus on is the one right down the middle, and that's the center, that's the line of symmetry. If you folded this in half, you'd have pretty much two equal sides over here. Now, you could go in here and try to measure that out with your fingertips. What I would like you to do rather than that is actually try to eyeball it. And how you're going to do that, I'm literally just going to go to this rectangle and I'm going to try to guesstimate where the middle is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple little dashed marks. Now, you may not get it exactly right, but I think all of us have the ability to know where it's lopsided. Now, if you want to double check yourself, because I just kind of guessed where the middle is, I can go directly to my paper and I can try to measure that little half and compare it to the other side. When I do that right now, I find that mine is a little off center. I could probably bring it over just a little bit and try to find that exact middle. Okay? Again, you're going to try to visually guess that, and part of that is basically learning a skill. Really what we're trying to do in the process of drawing this is we're learning how to look more carefully. And really to become a good artist and really to be able to draw very well and draw things so they look realistic, you really have to learn how to look more carefully. And sometimes that's about judging how big things are, where they go. I see my center line is just a little crooked, so I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. But you can see it looks pretty close to being divided halfway. Again, I just kind of guesstimated that. Now that I have that set up, I've created two other sets of lines here. I've broken this down into the neck of the bottle, all right? And this is what I refer to as the shoulders of the bottle, okay? So like the neck and the shoulders. So what I could do is I could measure this a bunch of different ways. One way is I could just measure this bottom part. If this is the neck, shoulders, I like to consider this the body. And I could measure that body by putting my pencil up to one end, my fingertips to the other. If working on your screen, if it makes it easier to do it this way, you could also do it that way. I like to measure this larger section first. It's kind of easier for me to get that, to measure bigger things first. So I'll set that up. I'll bring that over to my drawing. I'll mark it off. And then what I'm going to do is try to make a nice level horizontal line. If it looks like it's a little crooked, fix it. The biggest thing that people do when they start learning how to draw is they're afraid to kind of fix things. They know something doesn't look right, and then they just leave it. That would be the bottom part for my bottle. Now I have the shoulders and the neck. I don't have to measure both of them. What I could do is I could just measure the small one in the middle, but this is kind of hard for me to get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the top part. And I'm just going to measure how big the neck is. Again, using my pencil or whatever else you're using, I'm lining up one part of it to this red line, and I'm putting my fingertips right at the edge of the top of the neck. And then I'll go to the top of my paper, line up my fingertips, make my mark, and again, mark off that segment. So what you see what's happening is I've created my line of symmetry. That one I did without measuring the bottle. I did it by simply trying to divide the box that I had in half this way. And then I measured the long part of the body and the long part of the neck and made those marks. If you look at your drawing and you look at mine and you look at what you have on the screen, the photograph, if you see that it looks really off, like there's way too much space here or way too little space here, or this is in the middle, use your best judgment, erase it and fix it. You can measure from any part. But what we're going to do right now is we're just going to focus on getting that line down the center and the two lines going across. It's a Friday. I don't want to overwhelm you with a 15-minute demonstration. This is pretty quick. This is all I want you to do for today. But since it's not a lot to do, I really want to make sure that you've done it accurately, that you've done it as precisely as you can. And if yours looks way different or too tall or too fat or too wide, please take a second to correct it. From this point, what we'll do again is we'll go ahead, you can get your phones, we can take a picture of our drawing, and then we're going to upload that to the new assignment. That assignment is going to be adding the measurements to the bottle. And again, you'll be photographing the same thing again and again. On Monday, I'm going to start going over how we're going to draw the shapes. I know you feel like you probably could just jump ahead. This might be a little bit of a tease for some of you who draw really well, but we're going to take it slow on the very first drawing, and then we're going to get more complicated as we go along.